number 47641. Once again, number 47641. You win an Elite Underground Utility T-shirt and a North Carolina Media Group cooler. Number 45364. Once again, number 45364. You win a Bush Light T-shirt and cap. Number 77483 on the back of your souvenir program. Once again, 77483. You win a Safe Light autographed T-shirt and Budweiser cap. Number 28437. 28437. You win a half and NC 811 T-shirt. And our last number is 88999 on the back of your souvenir program. Once again, 88999. You win a James River Equipment prize pack.
Wrapping up victory lane ceremonies with Chase Robertson, the winner of the 40-lap event for the loss of John Barrow's Sportsman Series. Madhouse, are you ready?
Of reinventing itself. Here you can wine and dine back in time, or raise a glass to the future. Witness history in the making, or savor the present moment. That's why you'll love visiting Winston-Salem. Our past is present, our future is bright, and our city is yours to explore. Look forward. Travel back to Winston-Salem.
And now for one of the great traditions at Bowman Gray Stadium, the Hayes Jewelers 200, the 49th running of this grand event, sponsored by Bruce Hayes and his fine family, Zach Hayes. And right now, a tradition that is beloved here at the Madhouse. The crews for this event push their cars out to the starting grid.
This is as tradition-rich a race as you are going to find here at Bowman Gray Stadium, and one of the few races during the week that really gets promoted as a race. A lot of these nights at the Madhouse are nights of racing at the Madhouse, but I have vivid memories of seeing these modifieds come out to the old preview shows at the Lawrence Joel Veterans Memorial Coliseum way back in the day, and they would push the Hayes Jewelers 200. Third week in April every Saturday, and everybody got amped up for it. And it's neat to see all this continue.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you just saw the champion being pushed out to the grid, the 04 of Brandon Ward. There's the Hayes Jewelers machine being pushed out, the number 83, the orange car on your screen. Tim Brown, the 12-time champion of Bowman Gray Stadium Wars, a champion right in front of him, the Freehold, New Jersey native of Danny Bone, the number 75 in front of him, of the great Lee Jeffries. Tim Brown, an amazing competitor here at Bowman Gray Stadium. 98 career modified wins. That's right, folks. And the next thing isn't a typo. 139 pole awards. He actually had a perfect season of pole positions here one time. Track record holder here, of course. I think there's about every record in the book that the driver of the Hayes Jewelers number 83 has here at Bowman Gray Stadium. He's chasing 100, but even better yet, with a win tonight, he would vault ahead of Jimmy Johnson and the all-time win list at Bowman Gray Stadium if he gets career win number 99.
I mean, you're already in rare air when you're in the same breath as Jimmy Johnson, but I think everybody that's seen what Tim Brown has done here at the stadium from 1996 in particular on, you know just how talented he is. And I think in particular to be that successful over a nearly 30-year span, that's special. That's really, really hard to do at a track that maybe more so than any place else in the NASCAR's Ransom Parts Weekly Series, you cannot maintain that consistency without a heck of a lot of skill and a heck of a lot of talent.
You know, and he lost the championship last year, and he lost it in a very heartbreaking way. And if you weren't watching live on Flow Racing, we need to really show you what transpired there in the final race of the season. There it is, August 20th. A tap to the rear bumper in the closing stages by Tim Brown. Around goes Junior Snow into the infield. Yellow flag. Under the yellow, Snow exacts his revenge, striking the back of the 83, rendering that car useless for the rest of the night, ending the title hopes of Tim Brown. Some said it was garbage. Others said, hey, Tim Brown started it. Everybody has a different viewpoint from no matter what side of the fence you're on, but no matter what, there's no mistaking it's Bowman Gray Stadium action and what makes this place unique above any other racetrack in America.
I think it goes back to the old racer saying that race car drivers have memories like elephants. And
yes.
If there's a driver that feels like that they've been slighted, there's a good chance they're going to find a way to exact revenge. And here especially, this is not a place where anybody's afraid to use any sort of bumper. So I think you just have to be aware of the situation. As you see Skip Flores getting his number 79 machine, that black, orange, and yellow car pushed out. Going to be down in Talladega working on Blaney's car tomorrow. But tonight, he's a modified racer.
Yes, and he gets to make his first modified start here tonight. He's been so excited about it. He's been texting me all about it. This is a guy that's no slouch, too. This is a guy that's one of the all-time winningest drivers in TQ midgets. So unbelievable thing. Before we go to break here real quick, I just want to take the time to do this as we get ready to take a break. We pay tribute tonight because the Bowman Gray Stadium family has lost some incredible modified competitors. This year, Zach Brewer, a short track racing veteran who won his first race here at the famed quarter mile on May 21st, 2022, 44 years old, a racer, a friend, a wonderful husband and father. We miss you, Zach. Also, Johnny Bryan, a 22-time winner at Bowman Gray Stadium, and one of the greats who made his mark in 1987 by one of the greatest upsets in the history of Southern Modified Racing, winning against all the giants at Martinsville Speedway in a Riggs Racing machine. Johnny Bryant, you are missed. And then last but not least, a driver that we lost this year that arguably would be on the Mount Rushmore of Bowman Gray Stadium, and that's the Hayes Jewelers machine of Ralph Brinkley. A 63-time winner in the Modified Wars, 74-time winner throughout all the divisions here. And on Hayes Jewelers night, I find it fitting that as we see this beautiful sight in front of us, the crown jewel of racetracks here on Hayes Jewelers night, we pay tribute to the great Ralph Brinkley and those we've lost. Folks, we'll be back with the Hayes Jewelers 200.
Hayes Jewelers, the king of diamonds since 1939, is located in Lexington, North Carolina. Diamonds are the perfect gift for any time of year. So come visit Hayes Jewelers today to shop our huge selection of diamond jewelry at great prices.
There are the cars sitting on the racetrack in turn number 1 and turn number 2. The crowd is getting hyped as the final cars are pushed out onto the racetrack right now, and the crews are making final air pressure adjustments, making sure the drivers are secured in their cars, and now they start the long walk back to the field house. 25 cars will take the green tonight for the Hayes Jewelers 200. Ralph Brinkley, who we just mentioned, the 1992 Hayes Jewelers 200 winner. The Winston 200, the Hayes Jewelers 200. Just such a great tradition and a way to open up the season here. And the winners list, Pike, is absolutely stunning.
Unbelievable. You look at the names here. Burt Myers has 10 wins in this race, all-time leader in this race. Junior Miller, another stadium legend, 8. He's second all-time. Tim Brown has 4, searching for his 5th win in this race tonight. Billy Middleton's got 3 to be 4th all-time. Frank Fleming has 2 wins in this race, 5th all-time on this. And you look at that list of names. You walk around, anybody that's been around the Madhouse for a while, you don't even need to bother with the fact that they won this race. You just say Junior Miller, Tim Brown, Billy Middleton, Frank Fleming. They know, because that's the kind of greatness you're working with there.
You know, this atmosphere is something else, and I think we're going to throw a curveball here. You know, we're going to give you the starting lineup. I think we have time to do it. Let's go down to Randy Pulliam right now. He's down on the front stretch, and we're hearing this crowd behind us going nuts. He is pumping them up and talking about some of these drivers. Randy Pulliam is a guy that grew up here at Bowman Gray Stadium, sitting in the grandstands, and he's one of the great announcers in American motorsports. Let's go down to Randy right now.
Right now, I'm going to throw it upstairs to my announce partner, Chris Carter.
Race fans, and here to say the command to start their engine, it's Bruce Hayes' granddaughter and Zach Hayes' daughters, Peyton, Cassidy, and Addison.
Drivers, start your engines!
There's nothing like it, Madhouse. 600 horsepower cars ready to go at it for 200 laps.
The 600 horsepower chariots have awakened and rumble the earth here in Winston-Salem. The Hayes Jewelers 200 is next. Let's get you the starting lineup of these 25 warriors before they take the green. On the pole, one of the greats here at Bowman Gray Stadium. He set fast time in the Citrus Safe Grill Cleaners. #1 peanut patch machine from Walnut Cove, North Carolina, a 91-time winner at Bowman Gray Stadium. It's the ace, Burt Myers. And to the outside, the defending champion of the NASCAR Brad's Golf Cars Modified Division in the 104. That's right, the Q104.1 car from Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's short track veteran Brendan Ward.
Starting in 3rd position, the Wahlberg Grill and Pizzeria #75 machine out of Wahlberg, North Carolina. Lee Jeffries into his outside. Multiple-time track champion searching for win #99 this evening in the Hayes Jewelers #83. The Rocket out of Tobaccoville, North Carolina, Tim Brown.
Starting 5th tonight from Freehold, New Jersey, now makes his home in the great state of North Carolina, a 17-time winner and former champion at Bowman Gray Stadium in the #57 North American Construction Machine. It's 3rd-generation superstar Danny Bone. To the outside, one of the great veterans of the wars here at Bowman Gray Stadium in the Guaranteed Auto Group, #16, a 17-time winner from Mount Airy, North Carolina. It's Chris Fleming.
Starting in 7th from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, #69, Superman John Holloman IV, and part of the famed Myers family out of Walnut Cove, North Carolina, starting 8th in the #4 machine, Jason Myers.
One of the most respected veterans starts on the inside of the next row, and position #9 is the white and orange #5, the Greg Butcher Trucking Machine, the #5 of Randy Butner. And to the outside of the Jerry Johnson Motors machine, starting 10th today, the son of Chris Fleming. In the #13, it's Jordan Fleming.
Starting in 11th, it's the 7J out of King, North Carolina, part of the battle here at the end of last season, Junior So. And starting 12th, out of Manasquan, New Jersey, the #79 machine of Ryan Skip Flores.
Starting in lucky position #13 from Lexington, North Carolina, the black and orange #51, it's Drew Moffitt. And to the outside in the Bryson Aerial Solutions, #6 from Walnut Cove, North Carolina, comes his 4th-generation driver. It's Slate Myers.
Starting in 15th, the #9. And then 2 to make it 92 machine, the black and white car out of Walnut Cove, North Carolina, Kyle Southern. And the 81 machine starts in 16th out of Walkertown, North Carolina, Zach Clifton.
Starting 17th is the white #77 machine. She's a cancer survivor, and she has won the hearts of Bowman Gray Stadium people for years. In the number 77, it's the lovely Susan Harwell. Starting to the outside, rookie competitor in the breakfast time, number 07, Riley Neal. Let's give you the rest of the starting lineup. Lee Stimpson, in his last ever race, starts 19th. Gerald Robinson, Andy Noto, Brandon Butner, Bryant Robertson, William Crabbe-Smith, and Corey Levette. Since 1949, we've held races here at Bowman Gray Stadium under the great brand of NASCAR. And tonight, these are the drivers that live by the grace of God. And 600 horsepower, the modifieds are green, and the Hayes Jewelers 200 is underway.
And Burt Myers did not waste any time. He jumped right off that initial start to get the lead ahead of Brandon Ward. Tim Brown will settle into third. Lee Jeffries and Chris Fleming in a good battle for that fourth spot. But the front three already single file, trying to make it happen early. Fleming gets around the outside of Lee Jeffries. He'll take the fourth spot. Jeffries back to fifth, and Danny Bone rides in the sixth position.
That was some close company right there, and a little hairy moment for the driver of the number 16, but out front comfortably right now is the number 1. There is Jordan Fleming on the outside, hung up. Here comes Junior Snow on the Wagner Appliances. Number 7J to the bottom, the pink bumper right there. He used it last year under caution flag, but I'll tell you what, he's moving through the field already. One of the faster cars in practice all week.
Took a little bit, I think, for Brandon Ward to get that car warmed up, but he started to respond to that jump that Burt Myers got off the initial start. That gap has closed back down to within maybe a nose or so, and then Tim Brown's got about a car length back to Brandon Ward, then Chris Fleming, then Lee Jeffries. The top 5, all familiar names here, and they know how to, I think, process this race and approach this race, because this is a different animal compared to everybody else, as Randy Butner pulls behind the wall to pit road early. Just saw that out of the corner of
Brandon
my eye.
Butner.
Brandon Butner, yes.
I'll tell you what, right now, there's a lot of fans still on their feet, but this is a 200-lap race at a quarter-mile oval. There will be a little bit of a lull here. It's not a sprint. This is a marathon. Okay, and this is the longest race of the season for the NASCAR Brad's Golf Carts Modifieds. So, folks, you're going to see some drivers, in particular, some of these drivers up front, not pushing the issue right away and using the bumper up and using their tires up.
And it's hard, I think, on some level to predict. You go back, and I watched last year's edition of this race, and we had a lot of yellows break it up, and you can't necessarily plan for that as a driver. So you have to find a balance between making sure that you hang on to track position, but you also have to save tires. You have to conserve your car. You have to make sure that you have something for those final 15, 20, 25 laps when you really need to go, and you can push if you want. But if you don't have anything left when you're fighting for the checkered flag, is there really any value in pushing to try to get to the front early anyway?
Tim Brown sitting comfortably in that third spot right now. The giants of the stadium are up front right now. Burt Myers has won this race before, of course. We talked about that earlier on 10 times, but he wants to win it again. I'm not going to say he's greedy. If you're a race car driver, when it comes to checkered flags, if you're not greedy, you're not a race car driver.
And if you want a model of consistency, we saw what Sterling Clemens did in the Sportsman race a little bit earlier. Brandon Ward driving a very similar race with maybe even a little bit more pace. But again, how impressive it was last year for him to win the title in the Brad's Golf Cars Modified Division without winning a race. He pointed his way to a championship. That is tough to do here at Bowman Gray. To be able to accomplish that without any sort of victory whatsoever, you know he'd like to fix that here night 1 of 2024. But no doubt that that is a fast machine. That is someone that, barring the unexpected, we figure will be in the picture as this race begins to get toward the end. But very early in the going, still only 15 laps complete.
15 laps on the board for the Hayes Jewelers 200 right now. As we're about to catch some of the lap traffic here, the leaders are. Coming up on the backside of the number 99 of Crabbe-Smith will be the first one to presumably go a lap down here at Bowman Gray, and then Bryant Robertson would be the next car that would. They're catching the backside of it around the north turn right now.
Lap traffic usually doesn't play that much of a factor now as we get a good look at John Holloman here, but we'll see whether or not that changes.
Holloman right there coming back to Bowman Gray. He wasn't sure if he was going to be at the opener, okay? And I talked to him the other day. He's moving. to Tennessee with his wife and his new baby, and but he's not leaving Bowman Gray Stadium. He's going to come back and race the big ones, because he said to me, you know what? I've never won one of the big extra distance races here at Bowman Gray, and that's something that I'm not going to quit on. I may leave the stadium full time, but I am going to come back to try to get these big races. You're also going to see in his 69 car Brian Lofton from time to time when John is in Tennessee. Brian will also pilot that machine as well.
That's a little bit of horsepower behind that car, isn't it? And names that we know that can get it done in modified racing between those two. Holloman, who worked his way up through divisions here at the stadium to earn a place in the modifieds, and I don't think we need to say that much about Brian Lofton, as we now work lap 21 of 200.
We have a car spun in the infield grass in the south turn. It's the number 19 of Andy Noto. Noto, Meltdown Motorsports. You see it on the back of that machine. And Noto from Mexico, New York, coming here. He's a super modified racer for years up at Oswego Speedway. The Oswego has about like 5 nuclear power plants up there. It's pretty spectacular. But one of the best racetracks in the country. It's also on the Flow Racing platform, so you can watch racing there, super modified racing. 47-year-old rookie is Andy Noto. And what's cool, okay, you see the Meltdown Motorsports on the back of that? Well, there's a reason it's that, because he's a radiation safety manager at the GE Nuclear Processing Facility in Wilmington. And he was retired from racing, Pike, and he moved to Wilmington, and he came here to spot for AJ Burness in the sportsman division and got the bug.
Not hard, I think, when you come here. But the thing that stands out to me about Andy Noto compared to everybody else in this field, we were walking through the pits yesterday evening, and there were a lot of people that were packing up. There were some people that had some misfortune with their engines, and they were trying to get their motors fixed and parts changed and swapped out. Andy just had a boombox speaker and a grill and was just flipping burgers and having the best time. And I think
he had his feet up on the tires of his modified, just chilling.
Enjoying the experience of racing here at Bowman Gray, because it is so special. And there aren't too many times, especially when you come from all that way.
Yes.
It's tough, especially as a native New Yorker yourself. You know how tricky it can be to get down here. So I loved how he took in the experience last night. A shame that he's running into trouble so early, but I don't think he can say he didn't make the most of the opportunity, at least just live it up.
Yeah, speaking of living it up, I'm watching you say that. I look to the right, and my boy Justin Mincy here, who's the stat king of Bowman Gray Stadium, is munching on some little donuts. You knew it was going to only take 2 races before old Dillner here mentions the old little donuts, one of the greatest concession foods in any track in America. Right here, we're eating some maple glazed ones, but the chews cone is out, so let's stop talking about donuts. Brandon Ward puts it to the outside right there, and hopefully he doesn't run into that maple syrup on the outside and slick it up there, and hopefully we have a great restart. Jason Myers also hopping to the outside. It's early on in this race, so not really the time to take the big risks.
So to the inside, it's Burt Myers, Tim Brown, Lee Jeffries, John Holloman IV, Randy Buckner. To the outside, you've got some heavy hitters. Brandon Ward, Chris Fleming, Danny Bone, Jason Myers, and Junior Snow. All up in the top 10 as the modern Chevrolet pace car pulls into its hiding spot. We go back to green flag racing on lap 25 as Burt Myers does not get going, and it stacks up the inside line, and the caution flag comes out, and we will reset this field and try it again.
That's a little bit of cat and mouse right there, because the leader is supposed to take the green in the restart zone. This isn't a restart that's thrown by the flag man like the initial starts are. So that's a little gamesmanship right there. We restack them. Here we go. Both of the cars at the same time to the throttle. Yellow flag is out, though. Andy Southern's car is stopped on the backstretch, disabled his number 9 L&R transmissions machine, and now he gets it refired, and we're going to have to go back to a restart again, 27 laps in to this main event. There is the number 9 of Andy Southern, Justin Link, helping him out. Kyle Southern, gosh, I got my Southerns mixed up. Kyle, slap me when you see me.
Just trying to get the field reset, and it's tough. They were trying to get that reset as quick as they could, and I saw there were a lot of cars catching up towards the back. So now we'll take the the proper breather here early. And I think, if anything, make note of this yellow here right around lap 25. First real yellow that we've had in this. And how many yellows do we have over the course of the race? And how does that break up the flow of this 200-lap feature event?
And that's our second yellow, right? I think I'll try to keep track of it. We're not going to keep track of the grass, like we said before, but we'll try to keep track of the yellow flags here tonight in the Hayes Jewelers. 228 laps on the board. We gave you your Colby's restart lineup before, and you see the cars now getting by the north turn there, and you see that beautiful field house. That's where the scoreboard is here at Bowman Gray Stadium. That's turn number 3 and 4. If you've never been here, that's affectionately known as the north turn. And the south turn is 1 and 2. Matt Garrison has the car stopped here on the front straightaway. And he doesn't know either right there. That's great. Telling Burt Myers to go ahead, making sure the lineup is straight. I love this. This is old school, baby. The assistant starter is on the grid right now, making sure the cars are lined up correctly.
You, and then you, and then you, and then you, and it's not going to be any other way. Now, most of these guys...
You get a spot. Now you get it. He's like Oprah out there.
Right, right. Most of these drivers up at the front were it was the back where they were trying to catch up quickly, so I figured that's where we're going to see a little bit more shuffling, and as I figured, a little bit more confirmation, but just taking their time to make sure that everybody's sorted. The pace car has come to a crawl on the back straightaway so we don't burn off any laps, while scoring and timing and our wonderful officials here at the Madhouse sort this field out.
I think they're going to stop Kyle Southern's machine. They had let him go, but he was the cause of that last caution. So they're going to stop now the 9 and let the other cars like Riley Neal, rookie competitor, go by, Gerald Robinson, all of them go by as well.
So we are almost ready to go back green flag racing at the Hayes Jewelers 200. They have just gotten Kyle Southern's car rolling, so he'll catch up to the back of the field, and we'll get set for more green flag racing from the Madhouse. Lights stay on the pace car, so we will have at least one more lap before we take the green and restart and go back racing.
There is the number 45 of Lee Stimpson. And in the driver's meeting today, he actually stood up in front of his fellow competitors and said, guys, I may not be a front runner out here, but I've been here for 30-something years.
39, I believe.
39 years, and said that tonight is my last race, the Hayes Jewelers 200. So a big round of applause and kudos to a great veteran short track racer here at Bowman Gray Stadium. Congratulations on an awesome career, and we enjoy having you here at the Madhouse.
I think the biggest thing that stood out to me is we now get the one to go is that he just outright made the point to everybody. You know, I love racing here. I love this place. I love what it means.
And he thanked everybody for letting him race with him, which is a respectful thing.
He said, I'm going to try to not be in people's way, but I want to make sure I enjoy this last race and the experience of competing here one more time.
All right, we're getting green here. Pace car is off. Myers and Ward to the loud pedal. Myers gets the big jump. Ward files into the bottom now, side by side for the third position. It's Brown on the inside. Fleming to the outside, 2 by 2 behind him with Jeffries and Bone as well.
So Burt got another good jump off the restart, and then last green flag run, Brandon Ward was able to catch up to him pretty quickly. And it took a few laps for that car to come in, but he's able to close that gap. Tim Brown fighting for the third position just a little bit further back on the right-hand portion of your screen. Danny Bone is in the mix, Chris Fleming is in the mix, and Brandon Ward, just as he did on the last green flag run, beginning to creep back up to the rear bumper of Burt Myers, but it's all single file amongst the top 5.
Single file for much of the top 5, but further back in the field right now. You saw a peek of it right there. The number 4 of Jason Myers is caught to the outside.
Jason Myers beginning to work his way up towards the front of the field, battling Lee Jeffries, and then everybody else pretty much single file amongst all this as Brandon Ward continues to close in on that rear bumper of Burt Myers. There you see the gap between second and third. Maybe call it, what, 2-3 car lengths between Brandon Ward, the defending champion here at Bowman Gray, and Tim Brown.
Burt Myers setting the pace. It reminds me kind of like of Junior Miller. He's going to kill me for saying he reminds me of Junior Miller, but setting the pace. That's what Junior Miller would do so great at so many short tracks across the Southeast. he would go out there and get the lead early, and then he can almost play defense, and he can manage the gap behind him and set the pace.
Managing. I think that's a word, that's a concept that we're going to come back to a lot of times here. Just approaching lap 40 of 200 in the 49th edition of the Hayes Jewelers 200. So plenty of go, but that's plenty of time that you have to manage. And again, it's a balancing act in these long races. How hard do you push, but how much do you save? We'll hammer it home time and time again, because the best of the best find a way to strike that balance. That's why Burt Myers has 10 Hayes Jewelers 200s to his name.
40 laps on the board right now, and you look at Burt Myers right there, and then you look at the driver behind him, Brandon Ward, and then you look at the orange car behind him. The top 3 drivers here in total have 195 victories at the Madhouse. So you want to talk about the greats being up front right here, not only perennial championship favorites, but some incredible competitors as well. Now the number 57 of Danny Bowman has turned up the wick.
I was about to make the point that the top 4 in the field are all either defending or former track champions here at Bowman Gray. So the experience, especially on a night like this, I think really does mean something big.
Danny Bowman, the 57, a former winner of this event 2 years ago in that red and black machine that you see on your screen, the 57, right to the backside of Tim Brown. He goes through the south turn. New Jersey racer that moved here to North Carolina several years ago and has been a mainstay in the Southern Modified ranks. His grandfather was Parker Bowman, a great racer from New Jersey. His dad, Eddie Bowman, also a veteran of places like Wall Stadium and New Egypt Speedway in New Jersey. Danny Bowman comes down here, and everybody thought he would be just this aggressive Wall Stadium kid. But then he comes to Bowman Gray Stadium in one of the oldest chassis that ever competed here, and wins races and wins championships. That is a race car driver right there. Yellow flag is out.
Trouble for, I believe, Zach Clifton is the reason why we have the yellow flag out here. Call 811 before you dig. Yellow flag out for the 3rd time at the Madhouse.
Well, apparently the 81 made contact to the back of the 79, and he might have messed up his radiator. Let's keep an eye on that 81. There was some contact there. 81 of Zach Clifton goes to the behind the field house to the pit area right now. His father, Ronnie Clifton, one of the great race car drivers of all time here at Bowman Gray Stadium, and Zach Clifton, no slouch himself. And I'll tell you what, he's looked pretty good in that modified in practice. That car has some speed this year.
It's Zach Clifton, though, right? You know, this is someone who has been very successful at Bowman Gray Stadium. A guy who's got a ton of experience, so no shocker there, just not going his way tonight. But we will take a quick commercial break here from the Madhouse while we're under yellow, working our way towards the quarter point of the 49th Hayes Jewelers 200. More action to come from the Madhouse here on Flow Racing.
Well, cars are circulating around here under caution flag, 50 laps down of this 200-lap event. And look at this crowd, folks. My gosh, we're about 17,000 people here. The capacity here at Bowman Gray Stadium is 16,900. And there are a few seats that are open, but there's also a row of people standing around the top. Standing room only at the top. This place is absolutely packed for the grand opening celebration here, the big opener for Bowman Gray Stadium in 2024. Look at that right there. Beautiful new bathrooms on both the east and west side of this facility. Great concession food. We ate our Pulliam's hot dogs before we got here. Tim Brown's father-in-law owns that historic hot dog place. It's been open since 1910, but the concession food here is great as well. If you haven't come here as a fan, before I was announcing, I'd bring my kids here, and this is a wonderful place to bring families to enjoy the sport of auto racing in the most unique way.
There are a lot of ways to take in a race here at Bowman Gray, and I think the renovations that were completed a few years ago only, I think, helped that out. The concession stands are as good as ever. The bathrooms are as good as you'll see at any track in the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. And I will say, once upon a time,
oh, there they are.
Right. Good line there, and rightfully so. But once upon a time, before I was an announcer here alongside you, as the cone is back out, getting ready to rock and roll, we get some chooses.
Once upon a time, I'm ready.
I would take tickets at the main gate, and I would watch some of the races once we get to the middle of the program from that railing over in Turn 1, and it's a good place to check out the races. So the field will choose. Brandon Ward took the outside, as did Danny Bone, as did Lee Jeffries, as did John Holloman. To the inside, Burt Myers, Tim Brown, Chris Fleming, Jason Myers, and Randy Butner. The first 5 cars on that bottom lane.
Some cars that went on to pit road that last time. Junior Snow was one of them. I think Gerald Robinson as well. Green flag is back out. Lap number 54 ticks away as they cross the line. Side by side for 3rd and 4th position. The number 57 with a power move on the outside. Slams the door on Tim Brown. Contact. Brandon Ward goes up the racetrack.
Everybody stacked up there. They're all sideways trying to sort it out, as Tim Brown, I think, is going to end up the big winner of that. He just about clipped the right front of Chris Fleming's machine and only stayed off it by mere inches, but now he's got 4th position. But Danny Bone in all of that was able to get around Brandon Ward to get to 2nd, as you got a battle between John Holloman and Lee Jeffries. Jeffries has the spot. Holloman wants it.
I'll tell you what, that was some tense moments for the driver of that white number 75 machine. Now Burt Myers is licking his chops with a huge lead, looking in his rearview mirror and say, what the heck happened, probably on the radio right there. But I'd say the big winner of that was clearly the number 57 of Danny Bone, who came up and got 2nd position when all that fracas took place. Brandon Ward got shot up the racetrack into the marbles. What a great job that Ward did to save that machine and only really lose 1 spot.
Now that's heads up driving, and it was heads up by a lot of people further back because there was an accordion effect beyond about 2nd, 3rd, 4th where that contact initially took place. Everybody slowed down a ton, and they all had to check up and sort of keep their heads on a swivel to make sure they didn't run over one another over in turns 3 and 4. But they kept it together. They all stay straight. We continue to race under the green flag, and Burt Myers is in control of this as the yellow flag comes out once again.
Slate Myers, the number 6, slowed on the front straightaway and nipped the infield grass a little bit. The driver of the black number 6, so the yellow flag has been displayed. The caution call 811 before you dig. Yellow flag is out. Caution laps do count here, folks, so remember, usually they do not, but with this Hayes Jewelers 200, we're ticking them away right here.
4th caution of the evening on lap 61 of 200. So to the point you just made, because caution laps count, there is an incentive, especially for those who need a little bit of time to get back up through the field, to try and get as organized as quickly as possible. As the modern Chevrolet pace car will bring everybody back around, we'll get everyone sorted. See Junior Snow back out on the racetrack, trying to get lined up and find his place in the order as our scoring officials just to the left-hand side of us in the press box continue to organize this field and get us set up for another restart.
Burt Myers, your leader here for the Hayes Jewelers 200.
You want a fun stat?
Yeah, I love stats, man. Justin Mincy here is our stat guru.
Statistician.
Yeah, I mean, more than that, man.
Yeah, yes.
Statisticians are statisticians. You know, it's just like saying somebody's a history fan or a historian.
But
oh, Cone's coming out.
If you're looking at lap leaders within the Hayes Jewelers 200 specifically, all time, Tim Brown has 1,345 laps. Burt Myers, at least before this evening, was up to 1,323, and that has gone up by about 60 or so. And Junior Miller led 1,176 laps. So as they come back to the choose cone, I guess in real time, that makes Burt now the all-time lap leader in the Hayes Jewelers 200 at Bowman Gray Stadium. We don't quite know the exact number yet, so about 140 laps or so to figure out where we'll land in that department. But yet another accomplishment for a driver who really has shined in this race in particular at the Madhouse above maybe any of the others on the calendar, as we'll get back to green flag racing on lap 63 of 200.
They'll tick the line at 64. Burt Myers gets the jump. Here comes the number 57, Bone on the outside. Bad to the bone, he sends it into the north turn on the outside. Trouble behind him. John Holloman hard into the wall in turn number 3, and so is the number 7J of Junior Snow.
I believe that was Chris Fleming who got stacked up, and then Lee Jeffries got stacked up, and Jeffries tried to stack up and just avoid getting into Holloman, and
Holloman's got some severe damage to the right front of suspension on that machine. We'll see Junior Snow's car as it passes in front of us here and see what type of damage that he has on the 7. Bumper damage, I can't really tell here. It looks like maybe the toe might be knocked out a little bit. He's wiggling in the car back and forth on that Wagner Appliances machine just to see and diagnose that car. If you're familiar with Junior Snow, he used to be a number 51. Now he is 7J, and I like the J on it, okay, because that's his father's dirt track, number. And I think it's great. There's a lot of heritage here at Bowman Gray, and we need to give a nod to Junior Snow right there for running a 7J in honor of his dad's dirt car. That's cool.
I love crossovers like that. Anything where you've got that sort of family history and you can tie it in, even if it's not the same discipline. And even with some of the throwbacks that we've seen, the Josh Berry, Rodney Childers, same sort of idea with the short track, running
with
the local
with the Xfinity car.
No, the throwback for Darlington this year where they're running Rodney's old late model.
Oh, the Cup car. Excuse me.
The Cup car. But that
so used to Josh running an Xfinity.
Right. But that sort of concept, I love it. What we saw with Chase Briscoe in the quarter midget last year too. Racing is racing is racing. It doesn't necessarily matter what discipline you're in. If you've got a history you can lean on, it counts for something, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've got my history in racing. That's why everything I do is 51. My dad was number 51. He wasn't a big successful racer. He's a figure 8 racer in Long Island, New York, and I love that number because of it. So, the Myers family has a great racing lineage. Let's take a look at the replay here. You see the 83 chopped down. That stacks up to 16, which backs up to 75, which backs up Butner, which causes that whole deal. The good old polka wreck at Bowman Gray Stadium, the accordion, you saw it right there on that great replay.
You say polka, you're going to make me want to chicken dance in the booth. Beware.
I mean, hey. The Rangers suck. Sorry, I'm a hockey fan, and I had to throw that out there. My Islanders homies, I might get some bonus points there. You guys might tune somewhere else now because I'm talking hockey. First donuts, now hockey. I haven't even checked on the Islanders-Canes playoff game right now. I'm a diehard New York Islanders fan. Grew up in Long Island, New York, and the reason I say that is because I grew up a modified guy. And that's the real tie-in here, Long Island, New York, is because we're getting our butts kicked. We got our butts kicked. Man, I'm sad now. I'm going to go hang my head in sorrow. But I'm a modified guy, and I wear that on my sleeves. Pike and I just talked about that before. He's always done the Cars Tour, which is really cool. The cone's coming out right now.
Also on Flow Racing, by the way.
Flow Racing. Cars Tour is awesome.
Running right now, so if you got 2 screens, great opportunity to throw that up. And, I credit to our senior producer, Matt Strickert, who helped.
Thanks a lot, Strick.
Just
ruined my night. There's the cone. Let's see what happens. Let's get back to something that makes me happy. Modifieds at Bowman Gray Stadium. Danny Bone, no surprise. Bad to the bone, puts it to the outside. Tim Brown chooses to go to the outside of Brandon Ward. Jason Myers move him up into the number 5 spot. And Chris Fleming will be in the 6th spot. So, Danny Bone's not afraid to put it to the outside. That's a bullring bruiser right there. But, the funny thing is, like I was just saying before, those Wall Stadium drivers usually get judged as being really rough. And this guy is very smooth race car driver. Green flag is out, coming to lap 70 in the Hayes Jewelers 200.
That's about as good of a restart as anyone's been able to get alongside Burt Myers. Not too many people have been able to stick with him. Burt takes that inside lane. Good drive off the corner. Bowman slides into second. Brandon Ward gets the bumper into him to try and take it away. He's up to third. And look at Jason Myers a little bit further back. Contact there with Tim Brown. And Myers slides into the grass. Randy Butner goes to the grass. Caution flag comes out for the 5th time.
Man, we saw that coming right there. The 83 and the 4 side by side, and contact happened. They're going for the same piece of real estate. Gotta look for that side by side. That's right there.
One of the bigger incidents, I think, of this race so far, and the first one that really involves 2 of the major players. I didn't see too much damage initially. And just looking here from our vantage point in the press box on either one of Tim Brown or Jason Myers' machines, but that's something that you file away in the back of your head and you just keep note of, and maybe it factors into things later. We'll see, we don't know, but just something to make note of in your either mental or physical notebooks, depending on how you're taking in this Hayes Jewelers 200.
Well, the Hayes Jewelers car survived that one very narrowly, and but the number 4 did not. And that is Jason Myers, the number 4, the QRC HVAC and refrigeration machine from Walnut Cove, North Carolina. The brother of the guy you see on the screen there, taking a trip into the infield grass, and not good for Jason Myers, who's up in the 5th position at the time of the contact.
Getting a good look here. They're going to hold Jason as being part of that yellow, so he'll go to the tail end of the line, and we'll get the opportunity to restart. The cone is coming out on the front stretch, so when these drivers come back around, they will have the opportunity to choose once again. So we approach lap 75 of 273 right now. So let's see who takes the choose.
Danny's going to the top. Danny's going to the top. No, make no bone about it. Danny Bone's going to the top. There he goes. There goes. Hey, it's like deja vu all over again, except for we're missing Jason Myers this time.
Is that the first time that I can think of that Tim Brown's taken the outside?
No, he took it the last restart.
The last restart? Okay. All right. So
which is you know, he's usually a bottom guy on the restarts.
Right.
Typically.
No, that was my thinking too. That's why that caught me off guard a little bit.
But he's got Brandon Ward to his outside, and Brandon Ward's a very clean race car driver. So it's not that risky. I think the battle, what you're going to see, folks, here is, will Danny Bone be able to challenge on the outside? If not, it's the battle to the bottom. How quick can he get tucked in behind Myers? Green flag is out. 75 laps on the board, side by side through the south turn. Bone hanging out now. He's got to get to the bottom. Side by side behind Bone is Brown on the outside, and Brandon Ward on the inside battling. Brown almost hitting the wall out of 4.
He almost knocked that wall down out of turn 4 with the right front of that Hayes Jewelers number 83 machine, that orange and blue car that lights up the night here so often on Saturday nights at Bowman Gray Stadium. Meanwhile, Burt Myers just gets an incredible drive out of turn 2. I've watched the last 2 or 3 restarts, and he just powers down the back straightaway and has cleared Danny Bone, created space for himself, and made it easy to lock down that top position in this field. As a little bit further back, you've got some battles, but it is still all.
Oh, Randy Butner goes spinning into the infield grass. The yellow flag is out again. You see him spinning through the grass right there. The great veteran from Pufftown, North Carolina. The Greg Butcher Trucking number 5. Mountain Creek Motorsports. Muddy Creek Motorsports, excuse me.
6th caution of the evening as well on lap 79 of 200. So this race sort of playing out like last year's. A little bit caution heavy to start. Whether or not that carries on through the race remains to be seen, but not too many long runs. So for anybody that had been wondering whether or not you've got more of a long run piece versus a short run piece, I haven't really been able to figure that one out yet, which I think will be intriguing, because I feel like there are some cars in this field from whom we have not seen their absolute best, as the choose is out once again. And Burt will go bottom. Danny Bone goes top. Brandon Warren goes bottom. Chris Fleming to the high line, Brown down low, Jeffries to the inside, Jordan Fleming will follow the family there. Kyle Southern to the inside and company, all getting lined up for another Colby's Roofing and Outfitters restart to come on lap 80.
It's not go time yet.
No.
No, we're not even to halfway here. But the tension's ramped up a little bit with some incidents and some contact. Let's see what happens on this restart. Always interesting are these restarts. Myers with a great jump right there. Can Bone get to the bottom? Here comes Brandon Ward. He fills the hole. Bone's going to try to slam the door shut in the north turn. Oh, sideways goes Brandon Ward.
Brandon Ward had the opportunity and then got squirrely on the exit of turn 4 and just could not hang on to stay underneath Danny Bone. So now it is the last 2 winners of this race running 1-2 as Kyle Southern goes at it a little bit further back in the field.
Southern and Brett Moffitt right there side by side. Here comes Skip Flores to the inside of Moffitt right there. Now we're back to the lead. Burt Myers in the lead.
Caution flag is out again as they pack it in a little bit further back. Skip Flores ran right over the left-hand side of that first machine. Stopped there, and the yellow flag comes out for the 7th time.
And Stimson got slammed right there in the right side of his car. Hard impact to the driver of the number 54 machine as his car is disabled. Jimmy Brown right there to the aid of that driver, making sure he is A-OK. Slate Myers also involved. I think Gerald Robinson is the car that made severe impact to the right side of the Stimson, Lee Stimson, number 45, the white and orange car, his last ever start here at Bowman Gray Stadium, the great veteran. And Brett Moffitt, we were on that battle right there. And Drew Moffitt, excuse me, geez, I pulled 2 good ones today. Kyle Southern, you could get me, and now excuse me, Drew Moffitt, you could get at me too, buddy. Drew Moffitt, though, a beautiful PSR chassis right there that, you know, he's made limited starts here in the modified wars at Bowman Gray Stadium, and it's always great to see that beautiful 51 out here.
As this tangle, I suppose, of metal and machines gets cleaned up here and gets sorted.
I think we got a replay, I think they're saying in our headsets. Oh, that would be pretty cool. Here it goes, the Flow Racing replay.
You're like
let's
magic,
take a look.
Dillner.
Oh, my gosh. We're going to have to take a look at that again because that was sped up a little bit. But I'll tell you, Ryan Jet Flores, old Jet Flores was in the air right there. Unbelievably, he launched. Let's take a look at it again. Underneath Drew Moffitt heading into the south turn was Ryan Flores in the Hillbilly Racing entry, making his first career modified start at Bowman Gray Stadium. You see him now, the orange and yellow car on the bottom, and jumps the tire of Drew Moffitt. Oh, boy. And then now watch behind him. There's Lee Stimson getting pile drove. Wow. That was Slate Myers was into him right there, and that was a tough deal. Let's look at this secondary replay. This is going to be a good view here on Flow Racing. Contact right there, and modifieds are open wheel race cars, and that's what happens when you make contact wheel to wheel in one of these rocket ships.
That qualifies as full send, yeah, I think.
Yeah, full send. Jet Flores.
Jersey.
And there is the Jersey Jet. That's
Jersey
Joey
Jet.
Payne, yeah. We can't do that. But
Right,
Lee
right.
Stimson out of his car, his last ever start at Bowman Gray. Not the way he wanted to end this great career, but a very respected short track veteran. We're going to come back on at the Madhouse here, Bowman Gray Stadium on Flow Racing with the remainder of the Hayes Jewelers 200.
Thanks to our great Bowman Gray Stadium record crews, they are the best in the business, and you see them in action right now.
This is Denny Hamlin, and Bowman Gray Stadium is your NASCAR home track.
Farmington Road Wrecker Service. Getting Drew Moffitt to safety and over to the pit area.
Cash in on record gold prices at Hayes Jewelers in Lexington. We pay the most cash for old gold, diamonds, jewelry, and coins. Get top dollar only at Hayes Jewelers in Lexington. The most cash for your gold.
Winston-Salem, North Carolina is a city with a rich history of reinventing itself. Here you can wine and dine back in time, or raise a glass to the future. Witness history in the making, or savor the present moment. That's why you'll love visiting Winston-Salem. Our past is present, our future is bright, and our city is yours to explore. Look forward. Travel back to Winston-Salem.
Well, we come back here at Flow Racing and we see the tow trucks taking the cars off the racetrack and the Hayes Jewelers 200 here, just about halfway through with this 200-lap modified event. My apologies to Marjorie Pike for offending you, your Carolina Hurricanes fandom. I like the Hurricanes, but my New York Islanders are, where it's at. Just not tonight. We sucked. But hey, I want to also give a shout out Andy Noto, who has pulled off the racetrack and is done for the night. The Mexico-New York driver. His father turned 77 today, and supposedly up in the Oswego area, there's a big contingent of fans that actually have Flow Racing on tonight, having a big old party watching it. And there is the packed house at Bowman Gray Stadium. You see the press box? That's us up there. See if we can wave. See if they could see us. See if they could see us. We're waving here. Oh, yeah, there we are. Elgin's going to zoom in right there. I think Elgin Trailer is actually on camera in that turn. Here we go. There we are standing up. You see me waving my arms like a total idiot? That is me. Donkey Incorporated. Anyway.
I will take 2 seconds to make this.
Meanwhile, the camera comes in as we're waving our arms like the inflatable arm guy here.
Right.
But
No, I'll take 2 seconds to give Elgin Trailer a big shout out. Fantastic cameraman over in turn one, and one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to short track racing. You have a question, you need some sort of encyclopedic thing answered that revolves around. Elgin will probably know it better than anybody else, and he's as gifted a steward of the history of the sport as he is someone who can capture all the pictures of this.
Well, let's set the stage for our race fans right now. We are at Bowman Gray Stadium. If you're just tuning in live on Flow Racing, this is season number 75, the 76th year of NASCAR auto racing here at historic Bowman Gray Stadium. Since 1949, this place was first run in NASCAR racing by Big Bill France, the founder of NASCAR, and Alvin Hawkins, his good friend from Winston-Salem here. And since 1949, this place has been providing fans here a brand of excitement that you see nowhere else in American motorsports. And 17,000 people packing this racetrack tonight and putting on a show for these race fans and worldwide on Flow Racing.
This is the original NASCAR track. Before we had
the first weekly racing series track.
But before we had the Cup Series get there set up, before we had the Sportsman's, the Grand National Series, there was Bowman Gray Stadium. There was weekly racing here. And you go back to the history, the amount of Hall of Famers that have raced here. I couldn't even think about the list, but basically that stretched between 1949 and 1971.
Yes.
Anybody in this sport not only raced here, but more often than not found a way to victory lane here too.
Well, guess what, folks? We're going to get to go back to green here, and we're going to give you the real excitement here. The choose cone is out right now. Burt Myers taking the inside. That's pretty predictable. On the outside, Danny Bone. Inside, Brandon Ward. Now to the top goes Chris Fleming as the 83 tucks to the bottom.
So Tim Brown's gone back to the bottom.
Yeah, back to the bottom. Back to the bottom for Brown.
Right. That's a little bit more like the Tim Brown, the rocket that we know.
Coming to lap 89, the Hayes Jewelers 200. ready to fire to the throttle. The fans rise to their feet. Burt Myers takes them to the green. The race is on to the south turn.
And that was not a great restart for Danny Bone. He might get a lucky break here, or maybe not. We'll see what kind of run he gets down the back straightaway, but just enough as Chris Fleming just sit it there in the entry to turn 3, and somehow they made it. But everybody else a little bit further back in the field did not. And the call 811 before you did. Caution is out for the 8th time on lap 90.
And Slate Myers is spun in that turn. Crab Smith as well in the north turn, bringing out yet another caution here at Bowman Gray Stadium. There was mass chaos heading into the south, north turn there, all throughout the field. Everybody checking up, stacking up. Lee Jeffries was looking like he was mowing the lawn going into turn number 3.
That all started between Brandon Ward and Chris Fleming. Fleming got heavy into the back of Brandon Ward, and then not for the first time tonight, we just had another accordion effect where it stacked up everybody and carried all the way on through the back of the field. And
polka.
Slate and Crab were the two that ended up getting the worst end of that, although not much to be worried about. Certainly not as much damage as we saw, John Holman get, or Ryan Flores, Lee Stimson, all the people that wrecked over in turn 4 just a few moments ago.
Well, Flores is back on the racetrack, so that thing, that Hillbilly Racing number 79, we know can take flight and land very well as well. So
Jumpman. That car is up to something. I think.
I don't think he's on any Robitussin. So. Oh, boy. We've lost it here in the booth.
You're going to give me
time for a donut for Dillner. I need a little donuts here. Maybe I'm losing my steam here.
2 new flavors for this year.
I got powdered right now.
Well, but 2 new flavors, and they made a point to tell us. Cookies and cream and maple.
The maple is my favorite. I'm not Canadian. I love hockey, but maple is like the hockey flavor. Choose Cone is out.
You're not Canadian, but you love hockey.
Yeah.
All right, I'll let the people watching on Flow take that as they will.
Judge me. They're going to do it anyway.
Fleming to the outside.
That Dillner, stop eating donuts.
Myers and Ward and Brown on the bottom. Jason Myers went to the high line.
And he's gaining those spots back that he just lost.
And Skip Flores did too.
Yeah.
So a good opportunity for some drivers to get some track position, as we will go back to green flag racing on lap 93.
Almost to the halfway point of the Hayes Jewelers 214 cars remain out of the 25 that started. Green flag is back out side by side through the south turn. Now Bone will try to file down to the bottom. Side by side for 3rd position. Brandon Ward on the inside. The showstopper on the outside now trying to fend off Tim Brown.
Better restart for Danny Bone. Lee Jeffries got loose out of turn 4, checked up everybody in the back half of the field. That gave Tim Brown a little bit of breathing room, at least so far as his rear bumper is concerned, but he's still got Chris Fleming to his outside, and Tim Brown will just about clear the black and red machine of Fleming and go to P4 as Burt Myers continues to pace the field at Bowman Gray.
You see that beautiful orange and blue Hayes Jewelers number 83. Bruce Hayes, of course, a longtime sponsor of the Rocket from Tobaccoville, North Carolina, the 12-time champion of Bowman Gray Stadium Racing. And boy, there is pride on the line tonight as the Hayes family is here in attendance, and he wants to win for his longtime sponsor.
You know how much it would mean to him, because that's one of the great partnerships of this stadium.
Burt Myers, your leader right now in front of 17,000 fans in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. 2nd place, Danny Bone. 3rd place, Brandon Ward. 4th place right now, Tim the Rocket, Tim Brown. Chris Fleming in the 5th position. This time by Burt Myers will cross the start-finish line, and we will be halfway down.
He has controlled this race from the drop, but if you remember 1 year ago, Tim Brown did pretty much the exact same thing, and then we had a late caution with about 15 laps to go, and the entire complexity of the race flipped on its head, and Burt Myers took advantage to go to victory lane. So yes, Burt's looked great.
Tim wasn't happy that night.
No, but the main point, you just never know, especially at a place like this.
Just when you think everything has settled down at the Madhouse, there's a reason they call it the Madhouse. The first race, one of the first races I ever attended here, it was a single file snooze fest. And then right at the end, everybody started standing on their feet. and Burt Myers made contact with Randy Butner and spun him, and then Randy Butner spun him while he was doing his victory lap, and I was like, what am I watching? I'm addicted. This is incredible, and that's the magic of the Madhouse. No matter what brand of racing, like the side-by-side racing we saw earlier, you're going to see something spectacular. You pay $12 to get in, and you want to pay $12 when you leave.
I would want to pay more than $12 when I leave for the amount of value that I've seen in my times here. As a fan, as someone who's worked at this track, and now someone on the broadcast, this place never ceases to amaze. And then just when you feel like you've seen everything that you think you can, something new happens in a way that is unique to this place. But then again, that's part of the mystique and the allure. There's so much here that happens at Bowman Gray that you just don't see anywhere else in NASCAR. And that's part of what makes it so special.
Keep in mind, we're racing around a football field. Winston-Salem State University plays football here during that school season. That's why we have a shortened season here. Also want to mention Burt Myers has led the most laps in 7 of his 10 wins in the Hayes Jewelers 200, and tonight he's just dominating this event.
So this is more like the traditional Hayes Jewelers 200 blueprint for Burt, if you're keeping track at home. But last year was not that way,
no,
as we just mentioned. So I guess if anything, give both sides of the coin an equal opportunity to showcase things.
You know, we also should mention that there was big news about Bowman Gray Stadium this year, okay? NASCAR taking over operational management of this facility. This facility has been run by NASCAR, Bill France and Alvin Hawkins, and now, you know, NASCAR's involvement from the beginning promoting this this racetrack, and the Hawkins family carried on that tradition, and they carried it on until this year, and you know, when NASCAR took over operational management. But hey, the Hawkins family is still here, and they're not just here, they're not here in the stands, they're still running this place. So a lot of people are like, whoa, what's going to happen with NASCAR taking over this facility? NASCAR's never left Bowman Gray. They are woven into the fabric of this facility, from the concrete that these people are sitting on, to the Armco barriers, to the ribbon of asphalt that circulates this football field. The spirit of this place will always, forever be connected to NASCAR, and now that partnership just continues and now can prosper into the future.
A neat thing to see the history unfold, I think, as Burt Myers continues to lead the field here in this Hayes Jewelers 200. Brandon Ward, though, beginning to close on Danny Bone just a little bit. Those front three have broken away from Tim Brown to the tune of, call it, 4 or 5 car lengths at the stripe.
I think I see a fishing rod that just came out of that number 104, that silver car in 3rd position, and he's starting to reel in those leaders right now. So this is how a race plays out naturally. I love this long green flag run here for the Hayes Jewelers 200, and now you're starting to see the handling characteristics of these cars change just a little bit.
All right, is it a fishing rod?
Yes, I mean, it's a fishing rod. He's reeling him in.
Or is it a shark fin?
A shark fin? How do you reel in somebody with a shark fin?
Because
we're not at a Buffett concert, dude.
We're not at a Buffett concert, but if there's a shark fin, there's the Jaws theme.
Yeah, there's that. But when you say we're reeling somebody in, I'm going literal here. Okay, I'm going with the fishing rod. I think he's got himself a nice bait caster out there, man, like he's on a bass boat.
Both apply. Both apply, because he is catching.
Yes.
You can feel that Q104.1 machine for New Day Motorsports beginning to gain ever so slightly and to the point, as we now hit lap 120 of 200 that we made earlier, where I didn't feel like we had seen some cars showcase their long run speed, because we just haven't really had that long of a green flag run. This is about as long a green flag run as we've had over the course of the evening. And Brandon Ward's car looks like it's getting better and better and better and better.
On the front straightaway, Crab Smith has spun around in a dangerous and precarious spot, but great heads-up driving by your leader, Burt Myers, who avoids disaster as Crab Smith has spun, and yellow flag is out again.
My apologies to the Brandon Ward fans out there for what might be one of the most perfect commentator curses I think you were ever going to see. That was I talk about a green flag run, and then immediately as soon as we get there, caution flag comes out.
Yeah, well,
so
we both jinxed him. Sorry, Brandon. But Crab Smith spinning there. You see the Peterbilt on the back of his truck. Crab Smith, a longtime truck driver and somebody that we love so much. I love going through in the pit area and talking to Crab Smith, one of the great veterans of modified wars here at Bowman Gray Stadium, a longtime competitor here and a hard worker indeed. And, of course, helps out the Chris Fleming team. They field cars together, the Fleming family and the Smith family. You see the Car Quest on the side of that car, and they're looking further back. There's the 79. There's old Skip Flores, our buddy. He joined us in the booth last year here. He's a crew member for Penske Racing on the Cup Series side. Also hosts the Stacking Pennies podcast with his good friend Corey LaJoy. And I love that guy. You know, he's a real racer. I remember when he moved down here from New Jersey. He's going out to pit right now, and so is Lee Jeffries, apparently. No, he's not. Lee Jeffries did go to the pit area. The 79 chose not to. Maybe he was thinking he was lucky dog, but I think it might have went to Bryant Robertson. But yeah, Skip Flores is a real racer, man. I remember one time I was racing a street stock at Hickory, and I knew of him, and we've been around the similar circles with the Bluets and stuff in modified racing. And I came in, and my timing was all off on the street stock, and I pull in, and before my dad even got there, the first person undoing hood pins, I'm like, who is that touching my race car? And I look over, and it's Skip Flores. That's the type of guy he is. He'll give you the shirt off his back. He's a real racer, and it's great to see him making his modified debut. Yes, he got airborne, and yes, it hasn't been a perfect night, but at least he's still out there.
No, neat. And I love characters like that throughout the garage. Doesn't matter what level of racing it is, but people who are willing to do anything and take any job to get to a racetrack and be in the pits somewhere on a Saturday night. Doesn't matter whether or not it's Daytona, doesn't matter whether or not it's Bowman Gray, doesn't matter whether or not it's, Wall Stadium, New Egypt, some of the great tracks up in Jersey and New York. Like, you give Skip Flores an opportunity to be at a racetrack some way, somehow, he will take it, and it doesn't matter whether or not he's driving or he's crewing or he's spotting or what. It's just get me there, and then we'll figure out the rest later.
And that's a kid that didn't come from money, okay? He's a junkyard dog from up there in the Blewett Junkyard. And, it took him getting a career in racing and the NASCAR side to actually, to have enough money to race.
Self-made.
The last time Skip was airborne, written down on our board, was the Gamblers Classic. 75 laps to go here at the Hayes Jewelers 200 here at Bowman Gray Stadium. And looking over to my left, I see the new general manager here, Austin Shuford, and Gray Garrison working together in the booth here. And, of course, the original family, the Hawkins family, is well represented here. And so many people here to the left side of me, the scorers, they're just doing such a great job here. A lot of the people that have been here for years are still working here. A lot of people are like, hey, what's going to change? Okay, we heard it. We're Bowman Gray guys. What's going to change? Well, nothing. NASCAR's always been here. Okay, so it's just going to be the horsepower that NASCAR has, the tools, the ability they have to promote and get the ball further bouncing down the road in things that they could do to help Bowman Gray Stadium. That's what you're going to see over the next course of the next few years.
And the ability to work with the city of Winston-Salem, too, which understands the significance and the importance of racing here at Bowman Gray Stadium. City government knows what they have on their hands, and NASCAR coming in. You get two very powerful entities with an opportunity to work together and do a lot of really, really cool things. So, Cone is back out on the racetrack. We'll get another choose here, and we'll see if there are any surprises. Danny Bone states, I thought about it. Tim Brown goes to the outside. Jordan Fleming to the top.
Oh, it's a Fleming third row.
Right.
You got father and son in the third row.
Jason Myers and Lee Jeffries and Skip Flores. Everybody else to the bottom. Okay.
Skip just said, heck with it. I'm sending it to the top. The inside got me a plane ticket. Maybe the outside will fare better. Here we go. Burt Myers, your leader. 128 laps will tick on the board when we cross the start-finish line here at Bowman Gray for the Hayes Jewelers 200. Now into the restart zone they go. Dancing to the throttle. Burt Myers jumps out to the advantage. Bone files into the bottom. Not enough room, but yes, he does it. Now side by side they go for third position. It's Ward on the inside. Tim Brown rocketing to the outside, trying to make that difficult outside groove work.
If I'm Tim Brown, I'm almost more worried about Chris Fleming than I am Brandon Ward, because Fleming has been pretty deep on the brakes into turn 3 in particular more than a few times this evening. So I think you do have incentive if you are Tim Brown to make the pass, but the yellow flag will come out again. We have cars spun over in turn number 4.
Another caution at Bowman Gray Stadium. Kyle Southern involved in this. The 10th caution call, 811 dig yellow flag of the night. God, I love that camera right there. Turn 1 and turn number 2. You see the camera you're seeing right now. Elgin Trailer is operating, and it gives us such a unique perspective of this racetrack. I was hoping that it would be a good camera when Matt Strickert was telling me about it, and by God, he hit a home run.
You know what I love about this camera is if you look over at turn 4, you see
the jet out.
the jet out there. But this is originally a WPA facility that was built like so many others during the Great Depression, and so it's got a lot of that old character, and it wasn't necessarily originally constructed for racing.
No.
So what we have here is a horseshoe-shaped seating bowl that does jut out just a little bit on the entry into turn 3 over by the field house, but more importantly, by the exit of turn number 4. And it's a little bit narrower over there on corner exit than it is in turn 2. And not to say that the track itself is shaped like Darlington, where you have 2 very distinct different ends, but the way you exit turn 4 is very, very different, because there's just not as much room, and if you run up into that wall, it will catch you, and it will make mincemeat of the right side of your car.
Well, you see where that wall is, juts out right there. It actually used to go straight right there. It didn't bow out, excuse me, and arc out like it does now. So we're about to go green flag with a restart here. The lights are out on the modern Chevrolet Blazer Pace vehicle. The lights used to not be up on the top of the bowl either. They used to be actually on poles behind those walls. Green flag is back out. Burt Myers jumps to the point yet again. The number 1 has been number 1 all night. Now the battle is on for the 3rd spot. Brown gets it. Ward files in behind him.
A little bit of a shot there from Chris Fleming, but they'll line up nicely. 1, 2, 3, 4. Myers, Chris Fleming, Brown, Ward. Or rather, Danny Bone up in second. Excuse me, Chris Fleming in the 5th position.
Brown filing in nicely in that 3rd position. He's now going to be on the hunt. I talked to him yesterday. We did a little piece for Flow Racing about what this race means to him, what this race means to his family, what this race means to his sponsor. It's as obvious as the logo on the side of the number 83. But in his heart, a heart that's changed a lot over the last year, it means even more, especially when you're entering maybe the later years of your career.
We also are beginning rather to approach the later stages of this race. Coming up on 60 laps to go, 138 laps up on the board. And Brandon Ward is not making it easy. I think if there's one thing to note is that actually 2 things I was thinking about it. 1, Brandon Ward clearly has, I think, a better long-run car than he has a short-run car, and I think it's impressive that that's starting to come to speed. The second thing is that in Tim Brown and Brandon Ward, these are 2 drivers that we are going to see fight all year long, with Burt Myers, with Danny Bone, with Jason Myers and company for the championship of the Brad's Cars Modified Series. That's not something that's going to just be a one-time thing. And I think now you have to consider how other drivers' perception of Brandon Ward has changed now that he's a Bowman Gray Stadium champion. That was not something we could say before last year, but they call you a champion, and you almost have to, you keep that forever, but you have to approach it differently. But if you're Chris Fleming, I don't know if it matters all that much, because all of a sudden Chris Fleming is knocking down the rear bumper of the Q104.1 machine for New Day Motorsports, and Fleming is trying every bit he can to uproot Ward and move up into the 4th position.
All over the backside is that number 16 car. That's a former Tommy Baldwin Racing car, a Troyer chassis that was purchased over the offseason by Chris Fleming, and thus the black skin on that car with the red roll bars. Tommy Baldwin Racing, of course, Tommy Baldwin, a ferocious competitor as far as a crew chief, car owner, and modified racing. His father, Tom Baldwin, the Tiger in the Northeast. But Chris Fleming taking that car, trying to take it to the front.
It's almost like you can feel the spirit of the 7NY in that chassis, the way he's racing tonight, right? A little bit?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tiger Tom was he was aggressive, let's just say that. And he had one of the great personalities and bravados of all modified drivers, maybe of all time. He sure was an absolute passionate modified racer and wore it on his sleeve. You know, that family is an incredible family, and you know that transfers over to the Flemings. You know, the Fleming family is an incredible family. Frank Fleming, Chris Fleming, brothers, incredible race car drivers, and their sons. You know, Chris's sons carrying on that tradition here at Bowman Gray Stadium as well. Burt Myers in the lead, Danny Bone in second, Tim Brown trying to get around that lap car of Crab Smith. 50 laps to go. 50 laps to go, 150 laps on the board. Flow Racing bringing you live flag-to-flag coverage here of opening night at Bowman Gray Stadium. I'm Matthew Dillner, James Pike also on the call. And remember, folks, when this Hayes Jewelers 200 is over, we're not over yet. And you're going to want to stay and get that popcorn and get on the couch to watch the rest of the madness of the madhouse that will ensue.
QRC HVAC and Refrigeration, Street Stock Series Racing, and Q104.1 Stadium Stock Series Racing to follow. So yes, much more on the cards this evening, but they are still chasing Burt Myers as they have done throughout the course of this evening. Good look at Slate Myers and some of the battles a little bit further back in the field. I see Randy Butner, Kyle Southern and company fighting for position here as well. That's actually one of the best battles on the racetrack right now, because everybody from the top 5 is pretty well spaced out, save for the battle for second between Danny Bone and Tim Brown, who I think has decided to bring that neon orange machine to life a little bit. It's looked just a little bit faster in the past 10 laps, and we're starting to see Brown begin to make a charge. So you wonder whether or not he may have been saving the very best of his number 83 for when it matters the most at the end of the race.
Well, now is what I say the last 50 is kind of go time. You want to see, you basically know what you got at this point. And one thing about these cars, these Hoosier tires, 10-inch Hoosier tires on these machines, they don't wear out a lot here at Bowman Gray Stadium. And you know what you got at this point, how your car's going to corner through the, through the turns here at the Madhouse. Very flat corners. Used to be off camber, now they're slightly banked. But Tim Brown right now in third position, and he's not afraid to use the chrome horn on the front bumper of that machine. And remember, last year he wasn't too happy with Danny Bone at the end of the Hayes Jewelers 200.
You've got the leader, and then you've got the battle for second on your screen. That gap in real time, probably call it maybe 3 or 4 car lengths. It's a little bit tighter than what it's been. And now I think we're starting to see drivers recognize that if you have been just clicking off laps, if you have been trying to prepare for the end of this race, now is the time to start thinking about something. And Tim Brown beginning to really apply the pressure on Danny Bone to try and get that second spot away.
Yeah, he's making Danny Bone run faster. That's one thing that I've noticed the last several laps. Business has picked up, and he is making him run a lot faster. They're also, because of that, catching your leader, Burt Myers.
That, I think, was the big point that I was hoping you'd get to, that the gap.
When you were doing the arms? Yeah. The arms are impressive, man. I'm impressed. It's not just Long Islanders that talk with their hands. Apparently, Winston-Salem natives do too, bro. Oh, look. Peeking to the bottom is the 83, looking to the inside for daylight underneath Danny Bones, number 57. Business is picking up here at the Hayes Jewelers 200. A little tip, tip, tap to the back bumper of the New Jersey native.
I would say that's a more than a little that he gave him in 1 and 2 that last time by. That was a shot that Tim Brown gave Danny Bone in 1 and 2 the last time by. Yet again, another bump to Danny Bone. So 2 in the last 2 laps. If you know the old maxim of short track racing, you get bumped once, it's a notification you're there. If you get bumped twice, it's your final warning. If you get bumped 3 times, you may well get moved out of the way. And Danny Bone, I think, is definitely at risk of maybe getting a punt for P2 in the next few laps. Because you know if you let Burt Myers get too far away, you won't have enough time to catch him.
Well, that's what we call in modified racing, the Teddy Christopher rule, the 3-tap rule. Teddy Christopher kind of made that famous, and there's another tap. That's his 3rd, and you watch a little defense right there. The 57 backing his exit off the corner, playing defense right there. That was incredible driving by the 157. He's no slouch. He knows what Tim Brown's doing, trying to use the bumper there to get him to run harder. Look at him stopping in the corner right there to try to play defense.
This is mind games at its best between 2 former track champions here at the Madhouse. These are 2 drivers that have been to victory lane, who have done it well, who are approaching lap 170. We are not far away from the final 30 laps of this event, and Danny Bone is trying for everything to hang on 2 second spot, but Tim Brown is only making it harder and harder and harder and harder, and Bone got a little bit sideways out in the corner, and maybe this is where the big bump comes that sends Danny Bone. Not yet, but here comes Tim Brown, and still he hasn't been able to get to the inside of Bone's machine.
I'll tell you what, it's like, I think Danny Bone's listening to the old Metallica song, Whiplash, right now, because he's definitely feeling it in the helmet right there inside of that race car. But what he's doing, folks, in that 57 is backing up his corner and making sure he holds a nice steady line on the bottom there, playing defense. And what that is making sure he's not charging too hard so when the 83 hits him, it doesn't drill him up the racetrack. But what that's done, folks, him backing up like that, it's brought the rest of the field closer together behind him. Brandon Ward has caught up. Now that's going to increase the impatience of the driver in that number 83, Tim Brown.
And we've seen how we've had that sort of pool shot effect when 3 cars get lined up together on a few occasions in this race. And now with Brandon Ward there, with Chris Fleming there, Jason Myers also as part of that pack, you are potentially could make things very interesting for this group up front. The other thing that's happened is you've got a bigger gap that Burt Myers has in the field as we now hit 25 laps to go at Bowman Gray Stadium. You know Tim Brown would love to not only win this for Hayes Jewelers, but to get closer to win number 100. That is a very realistic goal for him in the 2024 season, but he'd love to knock that out before we even hit May.
And the big thing is to get win 99. You can't get 100 without 99. And 99 is the magic number if you know Bowman Gray Stadium history. And that is the all-time winner. He would stand alone if he could win his next race, this race, or his next race next week. And right now he knows if he's got to get around this 57 to even have a shot at Burt Myers in the closing stages. And he is all over the back side of the number 57 like white on rice.
Danny Bone is doing an incredible job of just letting Tim Brown carry him through the corner. He's not even almost bothering trying to accelerate all that much because he knows that Tim Brown basically is going to give him all the shove he needs to get out of the corner well. He's basically letting Tim do his job for him to a point. But that's smart racing if you're trying to maintain track position. That's something that you need to be able to do, especially at a place like this, if you're going to hang on to a good podium finish. But the yellow flag is out. The call 811 before you dig caution has hit the field for the 11th time on lap 180 with 20 laps to go. And how this changes the way we frame this race, I think, more than anything else.
Debris, we were being told the Midway Mobile storage cart has hit the track and picked up a piece of debris. So that is why the caution is out now at Bowman Gray Stadium. Oh, hey, what do we say? This changes everything.
I really didn't want to do that, honestly.
No, let's just do it.
But,
rip the Band-Aid off, dude.
But now what it changes specifically, if we're going to get technical about it, is the way you frame this race as a driver. Because if you were thinking about getting to lap 200, if you had it in the back of your mind that you needed to be around at the end, this is no longer a 200-lap race. This is now even less than the typical 25-lapper that we see when we get twin 25s here over so many summer nights at Bowman Gray Stadium. This is now sort of your typical race, and now this choose cone may be the most significant of the night yet.
Oh, yes.
And Danny Bowman will continue to go to the outside. Tim Brown stays down low. Brandon Ward goes up top. Chris Fleming to the bottom. Jason Myers to the high line. Lee Jeffries down to the bottom. Skip Flores up high. Jordan Fleming down low. Kyle Southern up to the high line. Randy Butner down low. Slate Myers to the bottom. Oh, hold your breath and then some. And what will we see?
Take a breath, because we are about to see possibly a true classic. Coming to lap 183 on the board, Burt Myers on the point. They both fire out of the north turn. Myers with the big advantage now. Let's watch the battle to the bottom. Oh, wash it up high is Danny Bone. He loses a handful of spots right there. Goes back to fourth, goes back to fifth. Danny Bone is in trouble. That gives second position to Tim Brown.
Those are spots that Danny Bone may not get back for the rest of the night. 16 laps to go at Bowman Gray, and it is Myers v. Brown, 1v2. And there are a lot of fans in the stands that just recognize your two leaders in this field, two of the best drivers to ever compete in the modifieds at the Madhouse. One of, if not maybe the greatest rivalry this stadium has and this stadium has ever seen, and everybody recognizes it, but the yellow flag comes out for the 12th time for a car that is slow over in turn 2.
Brian Robertson is spun, actually slowed down, excuse me, that beautiful blue and white number 72 Turn and Burn Hobbies. And he goes back behind the field house. And now that sets up another one.
So let's think about this. I mentioned last year. And you think about how Tim Brown dominated the race, and then we got a yellow right about now. And Burt Myers was able to capitalize on the chaos, take the lead late, win this race. This year, the roles have pretty much been perfectly reversed, where this has been Burt Myers' race from the drop. But this is about the same time we got that yellow that changed everything last year. So if you're Tim Brown, have you just been waiting for this the entire night? Have you had this gut feeling that we were going to have a rash of late race yellows that would set up the perfect opportunity, and especially now that he's going to have the opportunity to start directly outside of Burt Myers if he chooses?
Yes. Well, who else is in the catbird seat? I think we're also missing the fact that the black and red number 16 in third might be licking his chops, because he might start on the inside behind Burt Myers if the 83 chooses the outside. And I'll tell you what, the cone is coming out right now, so we will know. But third place might be the place to be if those leaders have contact.
And no driver's been more aggressive on entry into turn 3 than Chris Fleming in this field tonight.
Goes to the outside. Yep, Here comes Brown to the outside. Oh, it's on at Bowman Gray Stadium.
Brown up top, Ward up top, Jordan Fleming up top, Burt Myers, Chris Fleming, Lee Jeffries, Danny Bone up to the high line, Skip Flores.
Now let's watch here these restarts, because you have the two of the greatest drivers ever here, and they are not they're going to play some mind games here with this restart. Who's going to fire first? At the line here, coming out of the north turn. See, I told you so. Justin Mincy called it as well. The 83 first to the throttle. The one, maybe a little bit of mind games, a little cat and mouse right there.
I feel like if you're Burt, you almost have to do that, right?
I think so.
I think you have to.
That changes everything,
right? Because now the officials are going to be.
But
watching.
That's another lap too.
Right.
He does that. He gains himself possibly another lap. You know, because now 189, now we'll come to lap 190 at the green flag here. Both drivers fire at the same time, side by side. Myers, Brown through the south turn. Brown trying to hold on in the outside. He can't do it. Files in behind the Walnut Cove, North Carolina driver. Walnut Cove, Tobaccoville, battling for the lead.
When do you use the bumper if you're Tim Brown? Burt Myers got that incredible drive off of turn 2 yet again to lock down the lead as there's trouble behind.
Lee Jeffries spins around, and so does Randy Butner. Butner spins around, and Lee Jeffries up in smoke.
13th, call 811 before you dig. Caution of the evening. 192 on the board. Within 10 laps to go. The thing that stood out to me on that initial restart, Matt, is just how much Burt and Tim were trying to get, and Chris Fleming too for that matter. All three of them spun the tires a little bit, not a lot, but it was not a clean restart from the top three, and that's part of the reason why Tim was able to stay alongside Burt for so long. But again, it's that drive off of turn 2 that has been the moneymaker for Burt Myers all night long. Every time someone has challenged him, every time they get to turn 2, he either pulls even or clear of whoever's alongside him and has been able to lock it down as we get another choose cone.
Here comes the cone. Well, I just want to...
And Tim Brown goes back up top. Brandon Ward goes back up top. Skip Flores is going to restart in the 6th position. We have not talked about that. That car literally flew in the air over in turn 4 by the field house and is up fighting for a top 5 spots within the final 10 laps.
I believe he's on the lead lap.
Yes.
I believe he is.
And on the lead lap too. Almost.
Here we go.
Showtime.
Coming to 6 to go when we cross the line. Myers on the inside, Brown on the outside. Brown's gonna fight him tooth and nail on the outside. He's got the bit between his teeth right now, grinding it out of turn number 2. Down the back straightaway they go, charging to the outside of Myers. Now Myers drifts up. The 83 has to get to the bottom, and he does.
That was beautiful work from Brandon Ward just behind these two to cross up Chris Fleming and get third. Brilliant, brilliant stuff for the New Day Motorsports driver to make it happen, get P3, but it's still Burt Myers and still Tim Brown at the front of this field, lap 196 on the board.
Burt Myers leads. The fans now feel the anticipation of what could happen in the closing stages of the Hayes Jewelers 200. Burt Myers leads the way. He's got about a car length advantage coming up on some lap traffic. Brandon Ward behind him gets sideways, loses some spots. Give P3 to Chris Fleming.
Leaders are clear of lap traffic. Lap 198 clear. It's the top 2 and then everybody else fighting it out behind them. This is going to be Burt Myers versus Tim Brown for the win at Bowman Gray in the 49th Hayes Jewelers 200.
The white flag is out. The fans are on their feet around the famed quarter mile. 2 legends dance down the backstretch. One of them will come out of the north turn a winner. Jumping up and down are the fans. Burt Myers, his 11th Hayes Jewelers 200. The winner from Walnut Cove, North Carolina, the Citrus Safe Backyard Leisure Peanut Patch #1. His 92nd career win at the Madhouse.
Untouchable all evening. I've seen a fair share of Hayes Jewelers 200s here at Bowman Gray. That's one of the best performances I can think of off the top of my head. The way that Burt Myers controlled this race from start to finish and answered the call on every single restart. It is a simple thing in concept to be able to get up through the gears again and again and again. And Burt Myers was truly perfect all night long. Slate Myers, his son, coming up to celebrate with him. He has now led 1,545 laps in this race. And how neat a moment we are going to see here as Burt drives off and celebrates and Slate gives chase. The present and the future of the Myers family at Bowman Gray all on display for us to see. And there are a host of fans that are up on their feet all over the place, climbing the fences, trying to celebrate. It's almost as if they want to touch that #1 machine.
The fans are going nuts. I was seeing people do the praise, you know, like the we're not worthy as he was going down the backstretch, but Burt Myers pulls into one of the most familiar places for the Myers family, into Carolina wood floors, Victory Lane. The 48-year-old will take the checkered flag. And now, family and friends crowd around the car. Let's go down trackside to Randy Pulliam.
Challenger on the outside. No one else in the field had anything for him. Bert getting a bottle of cold water, giving a thumbs up to his crew. His wife Kim, son Slate, congratulating Bert Myers, getting unbuckled. What'd you think, Madhouse? How did you enjoy the Hayes Jewelers 200? Well, there's a driver about to get out of the cockpit that I'll bet enjoyed it even more than that. Here he comes, Bert Myers, ladies and gentlemen. Bert, let's turn around here to Matt Dillon and Flair Racing, folks. Bert, when we talked during pre-race, you checked the first box, you won the pole. We talked then about 91 wins. You said 92 would sound a lot better. How does it feel, 92 wins?
Man, that sounds good, doesn't it? I tell you what, man, this thing was unbelievable. Between me and Jamie, if this thing will keep running like this, we're going to get to 100 before somebody else does, buddy.
Oh, he's laying down the law right now. Bert, you had it wire to wire, all 200 laps. You withstood every challenger that came to you on the outside. I know, though, you probably did not want to see those last couple of caution flags.
It's Bowman Gray. Did you think it wasn't going to be some cautions at the end? You know, the restarts are tricky, but everybody did a good job of trying to bring it down. Hopefully that we'll see better restarts this year without people taking off early, and everybody ran clean and hard, and this thing was absolutely amazing. It really was. When you're sitting out front in these 200 lappers and you got a good car, it takes a little bit of the pressure off of you, but when you see those cautions, you know a restart's coming, so you don't know what to expect. But like I said, it was amazing. Our guys worked hard. We had a long week getting everything ready. But first of all, I want to thank my sponsors, Tommy, Mary Grace, CitraSafe, Bryson Brothers Aerial Solutions, Peanut Patch, MJRE, Walker Town Softball, Girls Softball, NASCAR Institute, Greg Butcher Trucking, Backyard Leisure. I hope I'm not forgetting somebody, but Bubba Speed Shop, Philip Smith, my family. How about Slate tonight?
Absolutely. Let's hear it for Slate. And Bert, you do have experience winning these Hayes Jewelers 200. I believe this is your 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, man, that sounds good. We were joking earlier. Contrary to popular belief, and I might get some hate from my fans, I appreciate everything that Zach and Bruce and the Hayes family does. I actually shop there when I do go shopping. So I try to support people who support us, and they've done it for a long time. So I'm proud to go up here and shake their hand and take their trophy tonight.
Bert, congratulations. Bert Myers, the winner of the Hayes Jewelers 200 to open 2024 season here at the Madhouse. He will indeed go over to the Carolina Wood Floors Winner's Circle to pick up some nice hardware.
Bert Myers carrying on the long legacy of greatness for one of the great families of Bowman Gray Stadium history. Win 227 for the Myers family. That family is on top of the heap. Folks, don't turn off Flow Racing, because the stadium stocks have twin features, and then the street stocks. The Madhouse is about to get mad. We'll take a quick commercial break.